So the other day, we were talking about access control policies like file permissions and so on. So today we are going to talk about a different model for doing the same thing. And these are called capabilities, right? So capabilities are, you can think of them like tickets, right? So you have a ticket, you present it, and when you present the ticket, then you get access to a resource. Okay, so whereas in the case of access control, the permissions are generally stored together with the object, and the operating system generally enforces these policies. And basically, the operating system consults the object says what access permissions that a user has, and then it grants those permissions to the user when the user comes to access the object. In the case of capabilities, the capabilities are things that generally reside with the user or the subject. Okay, so that's why we think of them as, say, a user has a ticket, and they bring the ticket, and then they give it to the whoever is admitting or giving access to the resource. So the thing about capabilities is that they combine both the object and the access rights. So you present a ticket says it is for such and such object for performing such and such access. So because the users can carry these things around, they must be unforgeable, right? Because it shouldn't be possible for a user to manufacture these capabilities, because that will allow them to get access to anything that they want. So that means these should be unforgeable. And the other aspect, again, thinking of it like a ticket, is that they are transferable. So if a user A has access to a certain resource, then they are able to transfer that to another user or to a process, or a process can transfer it to another process, and so on. Okay, so those are the properties of capabilities, and these are sometimes called as classical capabilities, because these notion for using capabilities for access control was something that was proposed, maybe about 50 years ago, and has been around for a long time. Since then, the word capabilities has been used for referring to other types of permissions, and we will talk about Linux capabilities, which are somewhat different from this classical notion of capabilities later on in this unit. So now, to give examples of what capabilities are, so since we think of them like tickets, you can say that passwords are like capabilities. They give access to a login access to some system, right? Similarly, cryptographic keys, right? So you have a key, you can present the key, and essentially that allows you to access something. Certificates are another example of a capability. So and more broadly, anything that's cryptographically signed, right? Any document, anything that's cryptographically signed can be thought of as a capability, because the person who signed it, should be the one that actually has access to the resource, and this person is granting access through whatever information is contained in this document that's being signed. Okay, so what I mean, but what I say as a document could be something that says, give this person access to this file, or let this person in this building, right? So all of that can be signed cryptographically, and then that means whoever has to enforce the policy can verify that the person is presenting the authentic credentials. So in the context of operating systems, file descriptors are examples of capabilities, right? So they are quite familiar to everybody, because what you do is that in a typical operating system, in order to access a file, you first open a file. And when you open a file, the operating system will perform various access permission checks. And then after doing that check, it hands you a file descriptor. And from then on, the process will use this file descriptor for accessing the file, right? So the point being that once the file descriptor is given, you just have a handle, right? A file descriptor is simply a handle or an index into some piece of information that the operating system keeps inside. So each time a process wants to access the file, it's going to present this index, and the operating system is going to check this index, find the information about this particular file, and then allow a process the read or write or whatever operation that the process is trying to do. So the point here is that at the time of opening, you decide, okay, this is for reading or writing, or for both reading and writing. And so what you want to do is you want to make sure that the file descriptor, the way it's implemented in the operating system, should encode the access permission that was granted. So all subsequent accesses using the file descriptor are only able to use those accesses. Another example of capabilities arises in the context of web applications, where you may have heard of session cookies. So when a user logs in, a special type of cookie called session cookie is set up, and this cookie essentially encodes a bunch of information that can be used subsequently each time the user wants to access something. This session cookie is going to be taken by the server side of the web application, and it is going to grant access to various resources that the web application needs using the credentials that are stored inside this session cookie. So, although capabilities have been around for a very long time, they are not widely implemented, at least not in the pure form where users carry around capabilities, right? So because they are harder to implement than access control lists, because access control lists are stored together with the object, and the objects themselves are within the operating system. So it's much easier for the operating system to manage these access control lists because they are stored inside the operating system, right? So whereas capabilities are given to users, so things like theft or forging, these become an issue. And in addition, capabilities, we said, can be passed around. Do we always want to allow this? So this is, you may not want to do that, especially if, let's say, somebody, someone else steals the capability, so because you may not want to, you may want to protect against that. And for that reason, you may not want transferability in all cases, right? And the other point is that, okay, because of theft, or maybe somebody left the organization, you want to revoke permissions. But if the user is, given these capabilities, then how do you, make sure that these capabilities become useless? So you have to somehow have some way of expiring these capabilities. So there are a number of difficulties in practical difficulties in using capabilities, and as a result, they are not as widely used, except in sort of limited settings, which we already saw, such as in file descriptors and cookies and so on. These are examples where capabilities are being used in today's operating systems. But in terms of capabilities as something given to a user and the user can carry them around, that is not widely deployed. So But again, but they have played very important role in operating system design, and again they are they remain in the form of file descriptors and cookies and other things that we still use today.